Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. I am doing my last episode in my case study series, What My Clients Are Doing Differently to Heal Their Bodies. And as mentioned in the previous episode in this series, I kind of teased a little bit about what I was talking about today. But today I'm talking about my client who was dealing with multiple things. And I'm going to go through the list, but she was someone that came to me and honestly was desperate for answers. And she very bluntly told me, like, I really don't have a lot of energy to look for a lot of people, but her therapist recommended me to her to me. And, we met, we chatted, and she really just wanted to find somebody that was going to help get to the root of her problems. And so for her, as I dive into her case here, hers was, as I've talked about in all of these episodes, was a combination of looking at what's going on in the physical body, connecting that with human design, like what's going on an energetic level, or just understanding herself on that energetic level. And then looking also at that emotional part of the body, the emotional body. So let me dive into exactly what she's dealing with. So when she came to me, she was in chronic pain. She was in chronic pain all the time. She honestly was barely functioning. She had to quit her job. She was very intelligent, had multiple degrees, and had to quit her job because she just couldn't function. The brain fog was unbearable. She literally couldn't perform at her job. She was hardly digesting any food, was down to eating like maybe, a handful of foods. You could probably count on one, maybe two hands that she could digest at all. She was pretty much staying in bed all day because of the brain fog, because of the pain, because she just felt so crappy. She had gone from being like 80 pounds overweight to losing about 100 pounds without knowing why or how. Like, she wasn't trying to lose it. So she's like, something is happening to my body and I have no idea why. And like, when she came to me, she told me, like, I just want to be able to read a book. And that was one of the things after our work together, she was like, I can read a book again. Like, so she was like, I just want to do things. Like, I want to be able to walk the dog. Like, I want to be able to read a book. She was literally just bound to her house, her room, her bed a lot of times because she was just feeling so terrible. And so when we talked through everything, like her goals, everything she was looking for, she wanted to be able to function normally again. And that was really the ultimate goal is very simple. Like, I just want to read a book and, feel halfway normal. Let me, take the dog on a walk, or digest more than 5 or 6 foods. So the first thing I wanted to address with her was her gut. I knew there was clearly some things going on with her gut because she was hardly digesting anything. And she was one of the people, 99.9% of the people I work with had gone to multiple doctors, and the doctors had run labs and were like, we don't really see anything. Like, we don't really know. They didn't have any answers for her. Some doctors even told her, everything looks fine. And clearly things were not fine. Like, you don't become bed bound, basically, essentially bed bound, and for no reason, right? There's reason. You don't lose 100 pounds without trying for no reason, right? There was clearly stuff going on. So that in and of itself just really fires me up because there's so many signs that she had, so many things going on in her body, and nobody was willing to be like, oh, let's take a deeper look. Like, there's things going on. And there was a couple things she told me, one of the labs, or I think it was a lab. Yeah. One of the labs that one of the doctors had run, there was some mineral things going on. But that was kind of the extent of the answers. There wasn't any other deeper explanation. There wasn't any let's look at this and dive deep. It just kind of is what it was. It was what it was. So we did run the labs, found that yes, there were some definite mineral imbalances. I found that she was harboring quite a few heavy metals as well, which sometimes with the heavy metal situation, it's kind of a chicken or egg thing because it's like, okay, well, I don't know if chicken or egg is the right word for that, but because it's like, okay, you're harboring heavy metal. So there's the exposure piece. Like, what are you being chronically exposed to that's causing you to harbor these heavy metals? But B, why is your body not being able to release the heavy metals? And I think for me, that was kind of one of the red flags for me in her case, because what I saw it was, because she had done a lot of things to help, low toxic, that, to make herself live kind of a pretty low toxic life. There was other things we did change. She got like a water filter for her house to filter out some stuff. So we did work on some things, but for me, it was like, okay, why is your body not able to get rid of these heavy metals? So a lot of times when I see this, like, we have to look at it from both sides. Like, yes, are you getting chronic exposure to certain things that's causing this buildup of heavy metals? But then let's look at your detox and drainage pathways. Let's look at your oxidative rate. Your oxidative rate is just essentially your metabolic processes, right? Like how quickly or slowly things are being broken down in your body. It's your metabolism, right? And why is it not breaking things down? Because it's usually, I'd say the majority of the time. Now, yeah, I can't say like every time, because sometimes it is like you're being chronically exposed to heavy metals. But I'll say the majority of the time, it's a two-pronged thing. Like, it's both of those. Like, yes, there is some chronic exposure, but more so it's your body's not able to get rid of it, right? We need to open up detox and drainage pathways and help your bodily processes, your metabolic processes, to help you release those. And most heavy metals, for the majority of them, are going to be released to the bile. So it's like, okay, we'll look at the liver, look at your gallbladder, look, all these processes that helps you push things into that part of your body, and then you're going to poop it out, right? We want to make sure you're pooping regularly and that your bowel flow is good and all that. So that was kind of the first thing. Like, let's look at all this and see how we can optimize that part. And then of course it was the gut part, and helping her be able to digest all the things again. So initially, without even looking at her labs, I'm like, okay, we definitely need some digestive enzymes. We need some help with the digestive process. And that's something that can benefit a lot of people. Like, if you're somebody who has digestive issues on a regular basis, there's nothing wrong with taking digestive enzymes. Like, it's just more of what your body already should, keyword there, should be making, and especially in your pancreas, like pancreatic enzymes. And sometimes it's a matter of like pancreatic insufficiency, meaning like your pancreas isn't making enough, or like barely any at all. Or it's just that your body's not utilizing them well. And that could be just from the overall inflammatory response. I think hers was really both. Her body was definitely in like stress mode. Like, we really had to halt that stress response and get a hold of the inflammation. So we made some really, I was going to say intense. I know that's a scary word, but we made some pretty, I'm just going to say it, we made some pretty intense dietary changes because, again, she was already very limited on what she could eat. And so I was limited on what I could, tell her to eat. And so we had to be really strategic. She wasn't really digesting meat and protein well, but she needed protein. She had lost a lot of muscle. And that was one of the things. She's like, I feel so weak. Like, I just want to get my muscle back. Right. And so we had to be really strategic about how she could eat, and like, let's put some plant-based protein, but then we can't do too much because we don't do too much fiber because we don't want to mess up. Like, it's a very delicate situation with the diet. So helping her with the anti-inflammatory diet, but like very like strategic version of the anti-inflammatory diet, was going to be key too. And that for me was like, okay, first steps, the minerals, we're going to get you on, put in some foods that are going to help your gut to heal. Cause we want good fiber to help your gut heal. And if you listen to, it was an episode a long time ago. I should probably do another episode on this, but if I did an episode a long time ago talking about gut health. And the fiber in food really is a crucial part of the gut healing process, because when your body breaks down fiber, it breaks down into short chain fatty acids. And that's what helps build that healthy gut lining. It's what helps build that really good intestinal barrier. And so that really is key. And I know sometimes that's a tricky one, because there's like a fine line, right? Because there is a point where you can eat too much fiber where it really can mess up your gut, especially if you're not used to eating fiber. And it's one of those, you have to basically, your gut, just like any other part of your body, you have to train it. So you have to train it to be able to digest these things. So it's a slow process to integrate these kinds of foods. If your gut's not used to, if it's not used to eating them, or if it's not used to breaking them down properly. And in conjunction with the digestive enzymes and like digestive bitters, digestive enzymes, like all of that's going to help. So all of that was a part of kind of the gut protocol. Like, let's help your body digest things better. Let's give it the foods that it needs to help, like kind of rebuild your gut microbiome, rebuild your mucosal barrier, your intestinal barrier, right? And balance minerals all at the same time. So while we're doing this, we're also looking at other pieces, because we wanted to have small goals for her. Like, she wanted to be able to walk the dog, right? I wanted her to be able to get movement in and start rebuilding her muscle. But it's not one of those things where I'm like, okay, going to send her to the gym, like go do strength training a couple days a week, because she barely had enough energy to get out of bed. So my first thing was, okay, let's get you to a place where you can just do like one yoga class a week. Like, get on YouTube. She had done yoga in the past. She liked yoga, and she liked, there's some things on some yoga instructors on YouTube that she really liked. Okay, let's just make a goal once a week. So I think this is a crucial piece of the puzzle here, because looking from the outside looking in, you might be like, okay, like how much of a difference is one yoga class a week going to make doing it once a week? But from her state, from her perspective, from her point of view, from the state that her body was in, that was all she could do. That was all she could do. That's all her body could take. And that's all it took for her to start seeing results. So we started out with doing one yoga class a week at home and trying to walk the dog, like, maybe a couple times a week, right? Just a short walk, nothing too crazy. And eventually that turned into a couple days of yoga a week, and taking the dog on a walk multiple days a week, which turned into, wow, I can do yoga every day. And now I can take the dog on 2 walks a day, right? Like, literally, we started so small, and she, bless her heart, just had the wherewithal to be patient with the process. And I give her so many props and so much respect for that, because I know a lot of people, just because I've worked with these types of people, and I can't say that I wouldn't be one either. That would be so frustrated with the slow, like, progression of the process, would be like, screw this, like, whatever, right? She was so patient with it. And I think she knew, like, that was the only way to do it. That was the only way it was going to work, right? She had just, hit rock bottom from her perspective with her health. It was like, this is the only way we can do it. It's just one little building block at a time. So that's what it was. And that really is, I know this isn't the part of the puzzle that you like to hear about. It's about, like, give your body time and take it slow and be patient with your body and all the fluffy stuff that you're like, whatever, that's BS. Because you don't want to hear it, because it's not fun. It's not fun to wait. It's not fun to have to, like, be uncomfortable in the process. And this is such a lesson for me too, because this translates to so many aspects of your life. For me, this is such a huge thing in my business, because I am super impatient, and a lot of it is me, but then a lot of it is also my manifesting generator tendencies, where many gens and generators, like, we like to do things fast. We like to skip steps. We like to jump ahead. And so if things aren't working, or we don't see, like, the evidence right now that it's working, we're like, just get super frustrated. For me, I'm like, screw it, forget it, quitting, like that. I have to, like, talk myself down off the ledge. And that happens so much in our health too. And it happens. So I have so many conversations with women, and when we're messaging each other, when I'm working with them, because it's like, oh, I've gained 10 pounds in the past 3 months, and I'm supposed to be losing weight, or I still am feeling this and this, and man, I'm still having headaches, and like, it's like, it's not happening in the time frame you want it to, which I get it. I say this without judgment. I get it. But as I've mentioned in pretty much all of these episodes in this little mini series, like, we don't control the timeline. Like, our body is going to tell us when the body's ready to heal. And all we can do is take the aligned action and give it the right environment to heal. And then we just let things play out organically, right? We let the body kind of lead the way. And I think that's the big takeaway from this part of it, for her especially. It was such a good it was such a good illustration of that principle, is that we're giving it the right environment, right? We're doing all the things for the gut. We're doing all the right things for the diet. We're helping balance the minerals out, right? We're doing little bitty pieces of movement at a time. We're providing the right environment for your body to heal and then allowing it to do its job. Because I know that, however many times I say like, healing is always possible, that it seems for somebody, especially for something, like if I would have told her this at the very beginning, which I do think she believed it, because I think she was just kind of like, what do I have to lose? Because again, I think like at her health wise, she felt like I've hit rock bottom. This is it. But I think a lot of times when I say that to people, they're like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. But when you're really putting in the intentional practices, the intentional effort to create that healing environment, it worked. Like it's inevitable. It really is inevitable. I can guarantee it. And I know, you can't really make guarantees with your health and all that, but, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy. And I'm not saying it's going to be like, oh, we just do the three foundational labs. And then that's right. Like sometimes it does take longer. Sometimes it does take more answers. Sometimes it does take medical intervention as well. Because I have had clients with that too, where it's like, okay, we have to get the doctor involved too. Like I need you to go get a colonoscopy because we need to see what else is going on. And right. So sometimes it does take more, but regardless of the path, whatever the path looks like, and sometimes it's a zigzag and loop-de-loops and it's all over the place, it's still leading you in the same, because you're still taking that intentional effort and you're taking control. You are taking control of your health, taking ownership, taking responsibility for it. It's going to happen. And so again, just that was a little tangent there, but getting back to my client that I'm talking about today, that was what it was for her. Again, thinking like, oh, yoga once a week isn't going to do anything, but that's what it took. And we just built on that. And yeah, she has a regular yoga practice. She has energy to walk her dog 2 times a day, right? She cooks her meals and can eat a variety of food now. Like she's able to, clean her house and do things that she can read books and actually retain information. And the other piece of this, I'm skipping ahead, but I feel like I want to share it. She started school to become a massage therapist while she was working with me. Like she got into it. Went from a place where she was literally stuck in bed without even the mental capacity to read a book, to being in class. I think she had 20 to 30 hours a week of class and giving 10 to 15 hours of massages a week. That blows my freaking mind. Like that was what she went. That was her journey, right? From barely being able to get out of bed to now being in class 20 to 30 hours a week and doing 10 to 15 hours of massages a week, going to massage therapy school and graduated. She did all of that. She went to school and graduated throughout our time together. And now she's working as a massage therapist, and she's working towards, she's working kind of alongside with someone in her goal is to kind of go out on her own and do her own thing. And I'm like, it's just such a beautiful story of trusting your body, trusting the process, giving it the time and the patience that it needed. Because I'm not going to lie, it wasn't a quick process, right? Our time together was probably maybe 8 months or so, 8 to 9 months together. And she's still, still doing some work after we finished our time together. But within that amount of time, which, really in the grand scheme of things, you think about 8, 10 months, it's kind of like when you're pregnant, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been pregnant for 28 years, but it's really not that. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's like really not that long. That's kind of the same thing with her. Like, I'm sure in the moment, in the process, she's like, oh my gosh, it's taking forever. But then we look back, it's like, okay, it was 8 or 9 months of your life. Like, it's really not that long. The other piece I wanted to hone in on that I totally skipped over because I was so excited to share that part of her journey. But the other piece that was really crucial for her, as we talked about my other clients in this series, was looking at her human design. And she was a projector. And I mentioned my other projector client who was dealing with PCOS and some crazy period stuff. And it was a similar thing with this client, helping her to understand her energy. And that was something we really had to talk to, especially when she started massage therapy school. She would tell me like, oh, I'm so tired. Because when she started out, it was a rough go at first, starting out with school. And she would be so exhausted on the days that she had to go to school. And like, she's like, I just feel completely useless. Like, when I get done. So for her, it was giving her permission. It's okay. Like the days that you don't go to school, let that be a day where you lay around the house. If that's what your body needs. Let that be a day for you to mentally reset and recharge and just lay low and, rest. And so it was helping her understand her energetic waves as a projector, understanding that as a projectors aren't necessarily meant to go all day long, all the time, right? They need more rest. They need more sleep than the average person, than most other types, in my opinion. And so that was a big thing for her. Even just that piece alone, understanding that piece alone of her human design was a big one, and giving herself permission. Because I think that's all she needed when we talked through it and how I helped her understand what it meant to be a projector. It was like, oh, okay. So then, because there was a lot of guilt showing up too. Well, now I feel guilty because I feel like, well, I'm at home. I should be doing this or that. I should be cleaning up all day. I should be, keeping busy, right? It's like, we don't have to, right? Give yourself the rest that you need. Give yourself the time to kind of energetically reset. Because the other thing is, like, you're in school, the days you're in school, you're around a lot of people. You're taking in a lot of other people's energy all day, like physical and like emotional, mental energy, right? So giving herself permission to, rest, recharge, that kind of thing. It was the permission slip she needed. The other piece that we talked through that came up, and it just, this just kind of like happened organically as we're kind of messaging back and forth and we're talking about things. Cause the other thing I forgot to mention that when she first started work with me, and she was on our first call together before we started working together, she was like, okay, I do need to tell you something because I don't know how you're going to feel about it. I'm like, oh gosh. She's like, I don't know if you've ever worked with anybody like this before. And if it's non-negotiable, I get it. But she's like, but I'm a smoker and I really would like to stop. Like I think she vaped and she smoked. I mean, she did both. Either way, she's like, I'm a smoker and I want to stop, but I do, I do want to stop eventually. I'm like, okay, no big deal. And I really honestly think she was a little surprised when I was just like, okay, like, okay. And because I knew throughout the process, I really wasn't worried about that. But that was the least, I think that was a big concern of hers. That was honestly the least of my worries, because I knew once we got into the process, once we got into starting the healing process, it would just fall by the wayside, because she'd be like, well, this isn't really serving me and my goals anymore. So it was just going to kind of fall. Like I had zero concerns about it. And it was a big one for her. She was concerned about it. And so talking through that, the how this helped connect the dots. I was doing some readings and I was doing some studies at the time. I think this is when I was finishing up my Reiki training. And so I started thinking about her, and it kept coming in my head, like, okay, this is her, her vice or whatever that she's telling me about. And so when I'm doing some studies and stuff, I'm looking at some of the chakras, the energy centers, and one of the vices that can show up from a blocked throat center, the throat chakra, is smoking. And so I kept thinking about this and thinking about this. And so anyway, long story short, we ended up having conversations because I'm talking to her about this. Kind of find out, we talked about this narcissistic relationship that she had, years ago, that she was healing from. And there was all this like stored energy, emotions, trauma in her body from this narcissistic relationship. And she wasn't the first client. I've had multiple clients now who they were either coming out of a narcissistic relationship or they'd had one, years and years ago. And it was just like this healing journey that they were on, this healing process they were on. And because what happens is in these narcissistic relationships is you lose your voice, right? You lose your voice. You aren't expressing yourself. You're holding back. You're afraid to be yourself. You're afraid to speak your truth. You're holding back your truth. And in every case that I've had this situation with, narcissistic relationships, it has showed up as either A, metabolism or thyroid, because your throat chakras connect to your thyroid. And I'm thinking of one specific client, serious thyroid stuff going on. And she was still in this relationship. It was still part of her life, but she was kind of separating herself from the relationship of a family member. Serious thyroid stuff going on. Totally made sense. And then for this client too, as well, that was her vice was the smoking part was coming up. This was her vice. It was showing up. That was the thing that was, and the other piece too. Yeah. Her metabolism was being affected. Right. And it wasn't necessarily a thyroid. Now, yes, her thyroid was definitely working sluggishly, as we saw in her hair tissue and mineral analysis, but she hadn't necessarily been diagnosed as hypothyroidism or anything, but seeing that her metabolism was being affected, right? And I told you that. I was like, why are these heavy metals being stuck in your body? Why is your body not metabolizing this? Her metabolism was being affected. You see how you connect, like all these pieces are being connected. And so, we talked through this. She had some practices that she was doing to help work through it. And long story short of that piece of it, I mean, she did quit smoking. Like that was it. It was, and I knew it would happen. I had no doubts that it would, but it would just kind of went by the wayside. She found her authentic voice, which led her right to go into massage therapy school and start this new chapter of her life. I mean, she literally started a whole new era. It's not even a new chapter. It's like a whole new era of chapters in her life. And it all came from her taking that first step of like, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for my health. I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to take the aligned action. I'm going to be consistent with the process. I'm going to be patient, and right. All of these things, she followed the path, followed the protocol, right? All of these things happen. So all of that to say, her healing journey, healing process was a combination of looking at the physical pieces, understanding her energetic blueprint, understanding her human design, understanding where the energy blockages were in her body, the energetic blockages, right? The throat was a big one. And knowing how to take action and address those pieces as well, knowing how to integrate all of that into the process. And her transformation is just incredible. I mean, honestly, it was. And I know she told me when she sent me a little testimonial. It's like, if you would have told me that, 6 months after, we started, that I would be, finishing massage therapy school and walking the dog twice a week and like actually completing massage therapy school and giving 10 to 15 hours of massages a week. And like, I would have told you were crazy, like you were dreaming. And this was not even possible for me. But that's what happened, right? It's all of those steps that she took, all of the steps that she trusted. And two, I give her props too. And I give all my clients props because I know it takes a lot to trust somebody. I'm so grateful for the amount of trust that people put in me and to help them on the journey. Because again, I'm not the one doing the healing. Like I'm the vessel, right? I'm giving you guidance. I'm giving you a lot of intuitive guidance as well, along with strategic guidance based on labs and science and all that. But there's a lot of science and intuition that goes into this. I'm just vessel. Like I'm just guiding, leading the way. I'm not the one that's doing the healing, but it still takes trust. It still takes a level of trust to trust somebody because there is a chance that it's not going to work for you, right? Especially if you're going into it thinking that, well, this may not work, right? It's kind of that self-fulfilling prophecy. So it takes a leap of faith for the investment too. I understand that it's an investment of money, it's an investment of time, and it's an investment of trust. Like you're trusting somebody. Like we'd never talked before. I mean, that first meeting that we had, I didn't know her. I never talked to her before. And that first meeting we had and we talked through everything, she had enough trust in me to know that I was going to listen, believe her, and take the steps we needed to get to the root of the problem. But so I want to mention that part in this last episode too, that you have to find, if you're on a healing journey, if you are on the healing path, you have to find someone that you feel intuitively in your soul, in your gut, in your heart, you trust, right? And it may not even make sense because really intuition, when you're leading with intuition, it's not about logic. Like logic really doesn't have a place in your intuition. And I think when you're finding someone to work with, you really do have to lead with your intuition and kind of throw logic out the window because sometimes it may not make logical sense. Maybe it does, but I would say the majority of the time it doesn't because our logical mind and our intuitive mind are two different places. And I urge you, challenge you to go at this from an intuitive place, listening to your gut and your intuition, leading you in the right place, and waiting for, divine timing, and waiting for people, situations that are placed in your life divinely, and leading with your intuition from there. Because I think that plays a huge part in it. You have to wait for the right person that feels like the best fit for you, that's going to help guide you and lead you in the way that you need to be led, in the way that you need to be guided. So that's the end of our series here. I loved sharing these stories, and maybe I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back later and talk about some other clients, maybe sometime next year, because I love sharing these stories. And I love sharing stories that give you hope and encouragement and insight that no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what symptoms you're dealing with, that healing is always possible, and that there are people out there who can help you. There are modalities out there that work. And it's just, again, leading with intuition, finding the right person, the right system, the right protocol, right? And the right combination of modalities, because I do think it's a multi-pronged approach, right? And I want to leave that piece with you too, that if you're looking for something and you're only going at it from the physical perspective, you're missing pieces. It is a multi-pronged approach. The healing process is multifaceted, right? You have a body, but you also have a mind and you have a spirit. All of those pieces have to be put together for total healing. And if you're leaving out one piece of the equation, it's just an incomplete equation, right? It's not a complete process. So I hope this gives you just some hope to hang on to. And I would love to know your thoughts about all of these episodes that I've shared with you. And I'm excited to end this year with these episodes, giving you some insight into the work that I do and the work that my clients are doing. And I just love sharing these stories so much. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you want to reach out, there's a link in the comments or a link in the show notes. And you can reach out to me on social media, email, per usual. And I will see y'all next time.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.